Hi, total recapped here. Today, we will be going through the events of a 2006 dystopian action thriller film, Children of Men. Now let's get right into the movie. On November 16th, 2027, in London, broadcasts are being made upon the death of Diego Ricardo, the youngest person in the world who was killed by a fan when Diego refused to give him his autograph. Theo Farron enters a coffee shop where a saddened crowd is mourning Diego's death. When he leaves the cafe, a bomb blows up the shop. Shocked by the incident, Theo asks his boss for leave, saying that he has been deeply affected by Diego's death. Women all around the globe have become infertile, thus leading to no newborn children. The foreigners are now treated as illegal immigrants and are kept under military supervision. Theo sets out to meet his friend Jasper, a former political cartoonist who now lives outside London with his wife, Janice. The next day, while walking to work, Theo is kidnapped by the Fishes, a group that claims to be trying to bring justice to the refugees and taken to their hideout. He meets his ex-wife Julian after 20 years, who leads the Fishes group. Theo complains that the group tried to bomb him, but one of the members angrily says that it wasn't them who bombed the cafe, but the government, who tries to instill fear for the Fishes. Julian says that the last bombing they did was in Liverpool, and after that the group has resorted to speaking and influencing people to join them. Theo walks with her, and she asks for his help to secure transit papers for a refugee by talking to his cousin who has ties to the government. Theo is reluctant to help even after Julian offers him $5,000 for the task, so the Fishes drop him back, and Luke gives him a way to contact them if he decides to change his mind. Theo goes to meet his cousin Nigel and asks him for a favor. He tells him that his love interest got a brother in Brighton who won't be able to make it, so she wants to go and see him, thus asking for transit papers. Nigel is able to arrange 2 transits for Theo and the girl, and Theo meets up with Luke at a bar to tell him that Theo himself has to accompany the girl. Luke expresses his gratitude to him and leaves after providing Theo with a photograph of the girl. The next day, Theo meets up with Julian on a bus, and they are headed towards Luke and the girl. On their way, Julian and Theo talk about their lives when their conversation breaks into an argument about their son Dylan's death. When they meet Luke, Julian introduces Key and Miriam to Theo, while Key is the girl who has to be moved. At first, Key doesn't like Theo, but Theo and Julian lift her mood by fooling around. A little later, the road gets blocked by a car, set on fire, and a huge crowd of people starts attacking the group. In the process, Julian is shot dead, and Luke tries to outrun the cop but is unable to do so. 2 cops step out of their car to examine the situation, but Luke kills them and escapes with everyone. As Miriam and Key give a funeral for Julian in a forest, Theo walks away from his wife's corpse and mourns her death in a distance. Theo drives the rest of the group to a farm where the Fishes gather to elect their new leader and plan what to do next for Key. Key and Theo are sent to wash up while Luke is elected as the new leader. Miriam asks Theo to meet Key in the barn since she wants to talk about something. In the barn, Key says to Theo that Julian only asked him to trust him and reveals her pregnancy to him, which leaves Theo shocked. The Fishes organize a meeting to discuss what to do with Key. Luke shows everyone a broadcast that was made an hour ago where Luke, Miriam, Key, and Theo are stated to be terrorists. He proposes that Key should stay with them and give birth to the baby under their care until it is safe out there. But Theo believes that the information should be made public so that the baby can receive proper care. Everyone disapproves of Theo's idea, and eventually Key is asked to make her decision. She chooses to stay with the Fishes and give birth to the baby there until it is safe for them to reach the people from the Human Project. Later during that night, Theo hears a commotion outside the farm and decides to take a closer look. He walks out of his bedroom only to find Luke and his operative Patrick arguing about Patrick's cousin getting poorly injured. Theo eavesdrops on Luke and Patrick to learn that the fishes planned Julian's murder, and the following day they'll kill Theo too. Surprised by the fact, Theo enters Key and Miriam's room and tells the two about the truth. Convinced by his statement, Miriam and Key buckle up to sneak out of the farm. Theo steals the car keys from each car and disables them to ensure that the fishes won't be able to chase them. With Miriam's help, Theo can jumpstart the car and the three of them barely escape. Theo decides to head to his friend Jasper's home. The three arrive at Jasper's house to lay low and devise a plan to help Key get to the human project. Jasper cooks food for the three and his wife and leaves to set up a plan to get Key to the boat. Theo asks who the baby's father is, and Key says she doesn't know. She plans to name her baby Froley, but Theo disapproves of the name. When Jasper returns, he tells them that a friend of his will get them to enter the immigrant camp in Bexhill. From there, they will make arrangements for Key to slip into the English Channel near Bexhill to meet the Tomorrow, a boat that will lead Key to the human project. A project researching to restore fertility in women. That same evening, Theo hides the car they drove to get to Jasper's place and walks inside to overhear Jasper talking about Theo's baby Dylan, who was killed in a flu pandemic. The fishes find Jasper's whereabouts and Jasper asks Theo, Key, and Miriam to leave. Theo asks him and his wife to come with him, but Jasper says he'll talk it out with them and stall them until they get far away. Jasper euthanizes his wife and his dog using rat poison when Theo leaves. The fishes arrive at Jasper's place only to find his wife and dog dead, and Theo watches his friend get brutally murdered. Miriam tries to confront him, but he angrily asks her to get in the car, and they leave. As told by Jasper, Theo drives Miriam and Key to an abandoned school to hide and wait for Sid, the person who is going to help them from there on. Miriam tells Theo about her time as a midwife and how fertility cases dropped to none. Theo tells her that she can relive those moments from now on, and Miriam thanks him. Suddenly, they hear a siren and head out to check if Sid has arrived. The man in the car orders Theo to raise his hands in the air, and Theo says the phrase, "You're a fascist pig," as told by Jasper. At first, the man is intimidating but reveals himself to be Sid and takes them in his truck to drive them to the immigrant camp. Sid tells Theo and the others to act like refugees and meet Marshika near a soldier statue. Midway through the journey, Key experiences intense labor pain, and Miriam tells Theo that she's about to give birth to the baby. Miriam tries to protect Key from the guards, so she fakes chanting religious mantras, only to be taken off the bus and detained. The two make it to the Bexhill camp and meet Marshika at the statue. Marshika takes them to a room and Key immediately gives birth to a girl. The following day, Sid and Marshika arrive to inform Key and Theo about the uprising caused by the fishes that has taken over Bexhill. Sid tells Theo that the government plans to bomb the place, but Sid has organized a way to get the two out of there. Sid notices Key hiding something from her and asks her to show him what she's hiding. He and Marshika are surprised to see a newborn baby, and Theo asks Sid to get them out of there safely. Sid plans to turn Key and Theo in and take the baby for a reward, but Theo and Marshika take him down before barely escaping and heading for a rowboat. Luke and Patrick, along with their men, interrupt Key and Theo's escape. They take Key and her baby away, and Luke orders Patrick to kill Theo. Amidst the chaos, Patrick and his men are caught off guard by the military, and a gunfight breaks out between them. Watching Patrick and his men fall back amidst the chaos, Theo can escape and follows closely behind Luke and his group. Luke takes Key and the baby to a building that the soldiers are bombarding. Theo cautiously makes his way inside the building, avoiding any trouble with the fishes. He can finally reunite with Key and the baby, but Luke tries to stop him. He says that the baby is beautiful and asks Theo to stay, stating that they need the baby. Theo and Key escape with the baby, and Luke is caught in the crossfire. As the two start walking towards the exit, people all around them pray for the newborn baby and Key. Even the soldiers cease firing when they spot the baby and stand still in awe, making way for them to leave. The gunfire resumes, and Mariska brings Theo and Key to a rowboat. The two ask her to come with them, but Mariska refuses and pushes the boat. Theo rows the boat in smoke, and Key spots a buoy which is supposed to be a rendezvous point. They rest for a bit and see fighter jets flying over Beck's Hill to bombard it. Key gets scared to see blood in the boat, but Theo tells her that the blood is his as Luke shot him in the abdomen. Theo assures Key that everything will be okay and that tomorrow will come looking for them. The baby starts crying and Theo teaches Key how to calm her down. Key decides to name her child Dylan after Theo's son, and a wounded Theo passes out. Tomorrow appears in a distance and Key is relieved. And that was my recap of the movie. I hope you enjoyed it. Now comment on what your favorite part was, and make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, this has been Total Recap.